Thank you. Thank you everyone for joining us in the last session of 2 days of learnings and ideas of exchange. I'd like to start by setting the context for this panel discussion. We're all aware of the implementation of the Companies Act of 2013. However, the amendments in 2021 made it mandatory for all the corporates to undertake impact assessments for certain projects as per the inclusion principle mentioned in the FAQs. It's been 2 years since the amendment, and hence we feel it's the correct time to hold such discussions. In our panel, we have corporate organizations as well as agencies who undertake or facilitate such assessments. To make this session interactive, if we can have 2-3 questions from the audience, we would not answer them directly, but definitely cover them through our discussions. In case somebody wants to ask such questions, we'll be happy to take. Just to make it more interactive, if there are any questions from the audience, we can take them now, and we will definitely include them as our discussion pointers, if there are any.
Hello. Hi, sir. Ma'am, I'm Sanjay Saab from Dabur CSR. So, ma'am, some of the points that we face during our impact assessment that we expect that we should clear in this discussion, that will be very grateful for us. Like, what are the standard guideline for and framework for impact assessment? Because many impact assessment agencies are going for OECD guideline. Is there any Indian standard guideline which we could follow for impact assessment? And second is that, what is the criteria for selection of impact assessment agency? You know, many agencies are coming that I'm also going to impact assessment, I'm also good, but is there any standard guideline for following and selecting that impact assessment agency? Third is that, is there any government authorized impact agency team or maybe agency? You know, NGO are getting registered over government side, but is there any process for registering the impact agency on the government side or any others? These are the some key aspects.
Thank you so much. We'll definitely cover those. Anybody else, or should we begin? Yeah, any expectations that you have from the panel? Okay, so we'll definitely cover your question. For the panel discussion, I would want to start with Mr. Pratyush and Ms. Shipra. What was the initial approach towards the impact assessment, especially in the first year of the impact? And now after 2 years, do you see it moving from a reluctant compliance to more of a commitment as an organization?
Let me try to not only cover last 2 years. I think most of us, when 2014 this was enacted, it was discussed, impact assessment will be part of it, but finally when it got mandated, this part was deleted. But bigger organization, a long-term organization, say on the Tata groups, I was with ACC those days, some of the old-timer, they had a practice of doing impact assessment in some other processes. So I did personally a social audit from 2014 to 19, non-stop, 5 years, all expenses. And used to come as a CSR scorecard. And this scorecard used to be part of my KPIs. It was having direct impact on my PLBC bonus. Not only me, anybody who was a CSCO in the company, including the CEOs. And this I learned from Tata Group itself. They had these beautiful processes and all. So it was there in our organization. But last 2 years, you were right. A lot of organizations started talking. We are spending, but you know, there is a say in Bengali, chele dubche keno, measurement to thik chilo, chele dubche keno. A teacher was passing a lot of students a chota sa nahar, and he measured the depth with his sticks. एक के बाद एक बच्चे को लेके गया, सारे बच्चे डूबते चले गए. अदर साइड जाके वो पानी बैठ गया, बोलता है measurement to thick chilo, baba chele dubche keno. He has measured the depth, not the current of the water. So same thing happened on CSR. Last 2 years, before that 8 years, people have spent lavishly. For example, I've seen people spending more than 10,000 rupees for a primary school student teacher, yet that school was not able to produce a single 60% marks. I've seen as ICSI auditors in some of the sites. And last 2 years, it has grown up, and now people are talking about it. There are multiple processes to it. Somebody is doing on SROI, somebody is using ISO 26000, somebody is using ISO 14. Different standards people are doing. Mr. Badhu is there. I know he'll take you through all those processes. But we all need to come out with a standard practices where there will be apple-to-apple comparison. People are coming out, the Aspire's impact has come out with a leave standards kind of thing. But yet, it has to be recognized by government and some body where people can measure apple to apple. Then only you can see, which is more impactful. Like on SRY, if you do social return on investment, something is coming out, but everything cannot be converted into rupee term. How do you convert somebody's happiness that you have brought into rupee terms? It's very difficult at times also. But as you said, ma'am, we are right. From compliance, now the journey has started in 2 years toward excellence. Compliance is for me always like getting 35 out of 100. Anybody who has done spending 2%, don't give me an extra mark out of 100, it must be 35. If somebody is doing some excellence, then the journey goes from 35 towards 95 out of 100. That's the scale we should now talk about.
Hi, good evening, everyone. And good to see such a large number of crowd over here. We were expecting that it's the last session, everyone, we will hardly have any audience. So thank you all of you for coming here. And to start with, first of all, I want to congratulate Bhaumik and his team for pulling up such a big event. It's a Mahakumbh of development sector. And everyone, Mother, I was telling this to Bhaumik also, the buzz around this conference is so much. Since last 1 week, I have been hearing from people in this sector that, are you there? We are coming. So that's a good thing that such kind of platform has been provided. Now coming to the impact assessment part. So yeah, see, we are in the 10th year of CSR Act which has come in. CSR, as you must all have heard, it's more about from philanthropy to a strategic-based implementation. So impact assessment is it's a new concept for CSR, especially for the boardrooms, I would suggest. They didn't know, they were spending lavishly, as Sir said, they were spending very much and without any plan, activity-based intervention. But when the impact assessment, when it was made compliant, it became a compliance, they were pushed to do that. And once the impact assessment report started coming in, it was like a report card for the board. And not like the school report card, jisko dekh ke parents bachcho ko daatte hain, they were happy to see that report card because for the first time they could see something which had returns on the investment they were doing. It might be minor, it might be anything, but they were able to see that. I know many CSR and many boardrooms where they were shocked कि अच्छा impact भी हो सकता है क्या? ये activities can be measured. Is there an impact we are looking at? So I think that was the journey we started with. And now where we are right now, the boardrooms are talking about it, people are talking about it. One positive thing which I have seen of this compliance coming in is lot of CSR people are going to professionals who are experts of impact assessment and getting them on board. Lot of professionals are coming in CSR space because they are understanding that CSR is not about philanthropy, it is serious business, it needs scientific approach, it needs that kind of understanding where impact needs to be measured at the end of the day, right? So that is the change which I have seen once the compliance has come in. And secondly, see, CSR, for CSR, impact is a process. There are a lot of challenges when we started the impact assessment because the data were not there, the reports were not there. It was most of activity. Many of you know it, who are from CSR space, and many of the NGOs also know that it was more of that kind of. So initially we were facing that challenge where it was the data and everything was a problem. But slowly I think where we are moving towards is a strategic planning of the projects. Now, why the Act has brought impact assessment as a mandatory? Because even the government wants CSR to move from funders to partners. That is why the impact has become mandatory, right? It's not about the spend, it's also how you are creating the impact. That is what government want, and therefore they want the CSR to be partner into it. And that is what is happening at ground level. Now we are talking about project, we are talking about theory of change. Earlier no one was talking about theory of change in CSR space, I know. But now we are talking about theory of of change. We are talking about talking about strategic. So impact assessments has become a part of process of project designing. That is what I can see as a mandatory CSR impact assessment compliance, which has brought that change in the CSR space.
Thank you so much, Mr. Pran. Mr. Pratyush, you mentioned that agencies have come up who are doing impact assessment. So I think, Mr. Rohit, I would want to start with you that you might have also seen a change in the last 2 years. If you can highlight in terms of if there's a move from compliance to commitment and highlighting the challenges, the learnings from these 2 years.
Thank you, Mansi. Thank you so much. Basically, the trends that we have seen is that, impact continues or impact assessment continues to be a compliance-driven activity. And, if you look at how most of the CSR projects are designed, people are into really measuring outputs and are not so familiar with the entire theory of change, the input, output, outcome, and impact framework. And what actually I feel pre-pounded this trend a little bit was that when it actually got to be mandatory in January 2021, those were the COVID years. And immediately many impact assessments that became eligible because of the threshold limit, etc., were COVID-related projects, which were primarily those projects where beneficiaries were unknown, and funders did not had given away equipment, etc., but moved away from the responsibility of the project per se. So as Pratyush sir and has very rightly mentioned, some of the large corporates were anyway doing impact assessments even prior to it actually becoming mandatory. What I feel is that we are still on a journey. It continues to be sort of compliance driven, and some of the corporates are actually now realizing that tangible and intangible benefits of doing the impact assessment. So these could be, for example, resulting in capacity building of the CSR teams. It could result in perhaps for manufacturing companies to get social licenses to operate. Some inputs into the efficiency of the program processes on field. So I have a feeling that, once impact assessments are seen beyond just an exercise to do, but when the benefits of it actually are kind of absorbed, then it will result in a true commitment, and the driver will be more the commitment rather than the just the compliance. So as mentioned earlier, I think it's a journey, and definitely, but I don't foresee it moving from compliance to commitment for another 3 to 5 years. So I think it will take that quantum of time. And, we are also used to seeing observable indicators. So for us, an impact assessment is a case study, is a success story. And while measurement KPIs are trending, even with, the whole ESG reporting, etc., I think boardrooms and people are yet to really understand the results of measurable KPIs. It's going to come. It's coming in many corporates, but it will take a little bit of time, for it to be ingrained in the fact, of actually conducting sort of impact assessments. I'd like to answer one of the questions along with this, if you give me the permission. So I feel that it's very difficult to standardize the way to do impacts, and probably the timing is not right. The timing is for us to get people to understand that there will be KPIs. There are many corporates which are more mature than that, but I think take a little time for that journey to happen. But if standards are written, and I'm sure they will, they should be similar to, say, something like the GRI standards, where, theme-wise and sub-theme-wise, you have certain standard KPIs already drawn out. So if it is like, say, an, education project, if it is veers towards learning outcomes, then these are some of the KPIs. So it will always be sort of a guideline-based kind of a standard. And then once that standard comes out, projects and sub-themes can be added to it. And then gradually impact assessments can pick on those standard KPIs for either project design and then ultimately, doing various studies around it. But so I mean, the way I envisage the standard being written would be more in terms of a guideline, sort of a driven standard, because there are many ways in which one can do an impact, and it's not right and wrong. And there's many a different way in which you can communicate the work that you've actually done on ground. And I don't think you should take away from that flexibility and the freedom. Like CSR ultimately is a board mandate where the company needs to design the project, right? You can't, if you pre-design everything and then make it very standardized, then I think, the passion of doing CSR, it will become like any of the other process. It will be like HR, procurement, finance, etc. So I think the whole passion of doing this kind of work will go away. So I think it needs to be very carefully sort of structured. But happy to hear other people's views on this as well.
I agree to what you said, and developing KPIs are not difficult. See, the CSR projects are linked to Schedule 7. Schedule 7 is linked to SDGs. All the SDGs do have indicators, so it is not difficult to connect that link. Only the intent should be there and that link should be connected. Problem is the processes, because impact assessment is just one activity. Impact assessment is a part of process which also includes monitoring, evaluation. I hardly see any CSR especially having a M&E cell or M&E department, which most of the big NGOs have. Sir told me they have, so there are very few ones which have that. I think that is what the learning which is happening at CSR level, and we are getting into that mode where we are understanding the impact and the importance of it. So yeah, just to that I wanted to add.
Yes, I agree. It's leading to a lot of capacity building at the corporate level, at the NGO level also. My next question to you is that has the compliance steered like a different perspective towards working of the sector, something from the data point of view? Is it more data-backed, more granular approach towards the entire management of it?
So thank you, Mansi, and thank you, everyone. So I think I'll speak more from a data and tech lens, because that is what we do for a living and help corporates and non-profits from that lens. So I think as everyone spoke, Pratyush sir spoke, Rohit spoke, and Shilpa also spoke about it. I think largely, as what we have seen, there were always organizations who were very concerned about that they want to see what an actual impact has been happening. Right, and they have been doing, without a compliance, they have been doing their own assessments, so let's say third-party assessments and things like that. With the compliance bringing in, obviously, there's a trigger that everyone has to do it and all of that. What has happened is, and I have seen this, and I'll say this in two parts. One is, from a data and tech lens, compliance also talks about that, let's say if you're building some assets, they should be GPS tagged, and things like that, right? And there should be an audit trail, so that becomes verifiable and all of that. I'm not talking about that because it's just reporting and compliance. But what we have seen is, and an experience with working with many CSRs, and I would like to take names now, right? A lot of times we say I would not like to take names, but we work with, let's say, Amazon or SDFC Bank or let's say Mahindra and Godrej. I think they're very good in the entire what we were talking about in terms of program design. They were talking about in terms of creating TOCs and LFAs. And when you put data and tech lens into it, right, what you have to do is, because when you put data and lens, you have to be very granular about it, right? Because you start thinking what data I'll collect from the field? Is it too much data for my non-profit partner? Right? Then you see, okay, how much it would be aggregated. Then what ma'am spoke about, right? Whether it's Schedule 7 or let's say linking SDGs. But creating KPIs is right always easy. But data and tech help you truly think very thoroughly about your entire program design. Because you also start from the fact that what kind of an impact dashboard I'm looking at. What is something which is important for me? What is something which is not important for me? Otherwise, if it is just an impact assessment, you would say, okay, I'll hire an agency and they would do a third-party impact for me. And I mean, it doesn't become a real-time impact monitoring dashboard or kind of a system for you. So data and tech helps you to put that lens, right? And we have seen that obviously the people who have been doing it as a part of their commitment, as a part of their process have been doing it. But because of it, new age CSRs, new age nonprofits are also talking about, I don't want to wait for a report which comes a year later or a 2 years later. Can you just tell me, and also Rohit spoke about that outputs are something which you can measure like a real time. But if you built in those indicators also, you at least know what's an impact I can measure quarterly. So data and tech helps you with that role, right? And it really, it really pushes you to think very thorough with your entire program design, with your entire TOC. And we have seen when people come to us and say, hey, this is our TOC, theory of change, or this is our LFA, and we say, it's too broad, right? If I have to put it on a platform, or if I have to ensure that some dashboard or some indicator comes out of it, I can't do that. So we ask questions, or jointly we say, then they make it more granular. And then they say, no, wait, I'll come back. I'll go back to my partner and say whether this is possible or whether this is not possible, right? So I agree to all of you here that it should not be templatized, right? You should work with the partner. I think Pratyush sir, we were pre-briefing, he was speaking about how they have an entire mechanism at LTI Mindtree now where they jointly design the entire program design with the non-profit partners. And I think that's the way to do it. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Pratyush sir, I would want you to start. Do you feel that because of the impact assessment, all the stakeholders are aligned towards a common goal? Everybody who's into the CSR project, be it the corporate, be it the non-profit. And like you were telling us about the project design approach, if you can exemplify that through your initiative.
So when I say project design and then going to impact assessment, two way. Either you write your own story or somebody else will come and write your story. So if you are not able to write your story as a corporate, a good partner as an NGO will come and write your story. Don't feel bad after that. So it's always wise. If you have not started there, suppose you have already started a project, and now again government has given a second chance of impact assessment. Impact assessment, we're just listening to our co-panelists. The moment data comes as an impact data, this data is impact of the previous year. And for the present year, this is used in that way. And design project ahead. Today, when I'm with you, for last 7 days, my NGO partners, 3 of the NGO partners and my PMU team are sitting in Dang. If you know about Dang district of Gujarat, people don't talk Gujarati there, they talk Dangi there, the tribals. So they, for 7 days, along with government partners, they are designing project. Fund allocated, what to be done and how to be done is designed there. So it's a co-partnership between the partners, 3 of the NGO partners and my PMU team, co-owned. And then the project takes its right shape, what is needed for the people for whom we are working. Or else you try to fit in a square inside a circle or circle inside a cuboid kind of thing. And then at the end, if anything goes wrong, more throwing started from each other. If the NGO is much bigger, much of the throw will come on corporate. If the corporate is bigger and the NGO size is small, it is other way around. Why to land on those lines? You have to design, Delhi mein kahavat hai, napo 2 baar, kato 1 baar. So, your project design has to be reassured to the last mile. Like we're just listening about LFA. LFA, Logical Framework Approach Metrics. I think development sector, CSR sector knows this. It started by USAID, supported by GTZ 50, 60 years back. Today also it's a common yardstick for everyone. Do that Make your objective very smart, specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time bound. And you know how to measure. If you are working on infant mortality, you say at the end we'll go to Anganwadi center and check whether it is right or wrong. If you have not written that as objectively verifiable indicators means of verification, what will corporate expect that it will verify Anganwadi works registered. NGO part will expect that will verify ANM register, then there will be mismatch again issues. Make these things very clear from the day one before you jump into the war. Automatically see your common face on the mirror. Where are you standing as a impact? One more addition on those lines. Like I have deeply worked on a tool called pretty manual on Excel sheet called CSR scorecard. If you give me any two projects, one from health, one for education, one for livelihood, I can tell you which project is your best project. And that way, globally standardize our references. It's humanly possible. That is, you need not to do PhD to do that. Anybody wants, I can share with you like that. This is my 25 years experience I put into. You can easily map that. And you can always talk, there are best of the consultant in this country. Believe me, on special and social sector, you can depend on them, get going on those. If you are not doing that, you are putting money but you don't know. It's like anything that is not measurable is not manageable. So if you're not able to measure it rightly, quantify it, whether it is working or not, you keep on pumping money till you have or till somebody will come and hold you back, you are doing something wrong. And this is what happening today. Lot of NGO have shown courage and saying we'll not work with XYZ as a corporate. Bhuke mar jange, aapse paise nahi lenge. And if you work, we work on our theory of change expertise. Accept that if you don't have that, ma'am was talking about, if you don't bring all those things to the dais and you don't have, feel of accepting theories, know-how from other side of the table, none of your projects are going to be with high impact. And there is a tendency, Rohit was talking about, we have a tendency of mixing impact, outcome and output interchangeably. The boy got or girls got 60% mark who have taught by CSR projects. Somebody will say it's output, somebody else will say it's a outcome, somebody will say it's a impact. That also, if somebody is fundamentally correct on those things, need to clearly isolate all those things. Then only will. Today, if you ask me, what you see in the impact report today, the first year, 80 or 85% are mostly outcome and output are shown, or outcomes are shown as impact. Impact is far behind, which are yet to be seen. I'm sorry,
No, I think very interesting because I am a development professional and I have been in development space for many years now. I understand impact can only come after few years. Right now, when we are talking about 1 year of impact assessment, it is more of outcomes we are measuring, right? But like Sir said, that outcomes can help you design the project further. So that is very correct. Coming to the stakeholders engagement, I think yes, impact has, with the impact assessment coming in, I think it's easier for us to design the project and migrate from activity to project-based intervention where we can negotiate with all the stakeholders. No, we cannot take this project, we can take this project. But adding to this, we have an obsession with data. I don't know why when we talk about impact, we have an obsession with data, but we have to understand CSR is not about project, it's about beneficiaries. It's about stories. Impact assessment cannot be completed until and unless we include stories to it, we include beneficiaries to it. Numbers aayenge, CSRs, I know business only understand number, but as a CSR professional, we need to change that because I'll take some time, but I want to tell this story. I was part of this NGO where we had a corporate partner and we were doing a intervention on child marriage, reduction in child marriage in Rajasthan. Data aaya, it was, we targeted that we will reduce it for a certain percentage. Jab data aaya, it was very less, like 10 of maybe what we predicted, uska matlab, I think 10% bhi nahi tha. Corporate was very angry that, oh, it's a failure, it's ye. One of the indicators showed that the Gona, which is basically after marriage, when they commence the wedding, the girl is sent to the boy house, that has been delayed Once when we did the intervention, we talked to the girls, and due to that, girls were able to complete their studies. So that are the stories we are talking about. It's not only data. Data might, because you're working with people, you're working with beneficiaries. You cannot predict, and there cannot be, answering to your question, there cannot be one solution for all projects. So the impact assessment has to be designed as per the projects. The indicators has to be designed as per the beneficiary need. Rajasthan में जो चलेगा वो North East में नहीं चलेगा. It has to be, even the same projects cannot have same indicators, because the framework can be said. No matter whatever framework you pick up, theory of change is always there. The theory of change is the core of it, where the input should be there, outcome should be there, output should be there, outcome should be there, and impact should be there. Until and unless these four concepts are not clear, people will not understand. Trust me, I have spoke to many of the NGOs who are experts. They don't understand what input and output is. And to make you understand that in simple word, taking example of this conference, this is the input that this session is happening. The output is this many people are attending the session. The outcome is that this many people are aware about the session. Impact will come after some years, where we will develop partnership and this. So just giving an example. It is so easy to understand, but people mix up output and outcome. So understand the basic, and it will be easy to see. We are all social development, but rocket science nahi hai. There is scientific approach, but it's behavior we are talking about, and it's very easy to connect the dots. But we have to get into it. We have to have the passion into it. So that's from my side. But yeah, impact assessment has changed the ball game of CSR. We have become more project driven. We have become partners. We have traveled from being funders to partners. I have negotiated with NGOs where I want to be a partner, where they have put the board ki it's just a funding partner. I said, no, put us as a partner, because we want to be partner. Impact is our responsibility. So that ownership has increased. So that's the journey. We are still in the infancy stage. We will be developing. It is evolving. जैसे CSR 10 साल में evolve हुआ है. Impact will also evolve, and I am sure it will change, especially in the CSR space. Development sector always knew it. And I'm again taking some time, but I have so much to say. See, CSR space is learning development, and we are the oldest development. Whether we are the one who used to import development professionals, right? We don't know to learn, say, but we know the development sector, right? So we are the one who can, so the NGOs and the development professionals are the one who can bring that on table, because we have the expertise. The CSR needs to be aware about it, and people in the business needs to aware about it. And they're also changing, getting professionals like people from development sector. They are also changing, and they are also understanding this thing. So that's the change the compliance has brought in.
Thank you so much for actually making us all learn theory of change. Great.
I know it's very easy to say that.
Great example. I'd like to ask Mr. Rohit about it. So, as an agency who conducts assessment, what is the change that you have seen? Is it more in terms of a granular approach? Because corporates are moving towards a PMU approach towards CSR. So, what are your thoughts? What are your learnings and anticipated challenges in this?
So I have a bit of a negative take on this, because, through the various assessments that we've done, we've found that there are still several challenges, So, for example, I very strongly feel that, setting up a matrix or setting up a tool, I always tell my team, what is there? I mean, tool develop kar rahe ho. Matlab, developing a tool or developing KPIs is not rocket science. Whenever I look at the tools which are developed, they're more or less the same, right? It's the manner in which, how you execute that tool which is critical. So like everything in the development space, it's how you ask the questions. There are so many biases on field. So I find that getting data is very difficult, especially for, if there are CSR projects in multiple locations, actually, even getting beneficiaries, having recall value of the beneficiaries, and all kinds of bias is there in terms of, how that data is actually drawn, together. So those, we have found various and multiple challenges in actually putting together reports which truly actually reflect the work which is gone on ground. So I feel that, the way many corporates are now jointly doing the project design, and if there is genuinely greater stakeholder engagement, getting the right data, and here I'm also not just talking about quant data, but also qualitative data. If there is more stakeholder engagement, definitely the quality of the data, which will be better. And so the actual result that you will get in an impact assessment will be truer to what the actual picture is on ground. Because there are many biases. Even if you talk to a particular beneficiary, they are obligated to say certain things because they have benefited in a certain way. There is attribution bias. There are many biases. So greater stakeholder on ground at a grassroots level will mean better data and will mean more objective impact assessments going forward. I also feel that this is a journey, still a journey, and with better project design and with better stakeholder engagement, it will again take a certain time horizon. And I still feel we are, 4 to 5 years away from having comparable and, true impact assessment reports. Many of them are now in public domain, right? So people can read, अच्छा, इस एजेंसी का रिपोर्ट ऐसे दिखता है, ऐसे इसका रिपोर्ट ऐसे दिखता है. पहले तो वो पता नहीं था. Now everything is there. You go and do a search, because of the law, you're required to put it on the website. So everybody and anybody can write an impact assessment report. You can go, you can see what it is. You can just put it together. But is that really truly reflective of what has gone on ground is the question that I'm going to ask. And I'm negative about it. It's no. Even if you try your best, it's very difficult to get that data. So we are far away from that. I think it will take some time.
Thank you. Swapnil, would you like to comment on the obsession with data? Because impact assessment usually is the numbers.
Yeah, so before that, I'll just try to comment on an experiment which I did myself and what Rohit was mentioning. So because now our all annual reports and impact assessment reports are public, and I would all want you guys to do an experiment when you go home today. Just open ChatGPT, take any impact assessment report or take any annual report, take out a section, and actually you can ask them that I want to write a similar impact report with these numbers. It will do a very beautiful job, that's one. I mean, that's on the duplicacy or the negative side to it, but I'll also tell you what we also tried and did with some experiments. I uploaded a report of one CSR, here I will not take a name, right, an annual report. And I uploaded 3 annual reports to ChatGPT. And I said, now you tell me what they were doing in health in year 2000 this. So give me all the trends. So it gave me all the beautiful trends that health increased, this has increased, this has decreased. Then I said, can you tell me state-wise? So then it picked domain and state. Then I asked that the population in each state. Because obviously population in each state is known as a public domain. Can you now tell me per capita expenditure? It gave me per capita expenditure. Then I said, the ruling party in every state. So now can you put a political angle to it? And it gave me a political angle also, right? So what I'm trying to say is that one thing is that all of these descriptive reports are available in the public domain. Now if you want to design an intervention, or if you are a non-profit seeking funds, you put those things in the those ChatGPT and all of that, and again, both sides you can use it. You can use it for a very specific analytical thing which you want for, and you can also use for something like if you want to write a assessment report and say, pull this from this, pull this from this, and pull this from this, right? going back to what, completely echo with what Shilpa is trying to say, and I'll cite two incidents. So I'll say one is that we are a very data-obsessed sector, and I spoke about it in the morning in my masterclass at technology. So one, what happened is, we say that whenever we are designing these interventions, we have to do bottom to top. Include everyone, participate everyone, which is the correct approach. But data collection, dashboard and KPI, I would say is something where you should do top to bottom. And why I'll say this, right? Once you think that I'll have to do a baseline, right? People say data obsessed, सब कुछ पूछ लो. जितना पूछना है, जो पूछ सकते हो वो पूछ लो. पता नहीं कब क्या काम आ जाए. Right? That is what the approach is, right? So you have 30, 40 pages of baseline questionnaires. There was some anecdotal thing where I was referring to, and person says that in India, every household in a rural village, if you see, they are being baselined thrice in a month. Right? Because multiple CSRs, multiple impact agencies, multiple non-profits, state governments, district surveys, central governments. Audits. Right? And over and above, yeah. Now it's been assessed, and I have done those interviews myself. Whenever you knock on someone's door, right, and I'm sure people who have been there, they have done that. The kind of hope, with the hope they answer those questions, and you know internally that there is no output, there is no impact which will happen in next 2 months. There's no impact that's happened in 3 months. There's going to some report. This is going to some, some annual report and will stay in a PDF. By God, it's a very difficult scene because they would pour your heart out. They'll pour their heart out in telling that, hey, I have this problem or this is my income and all of that. So which brings to what I'm trying to tell you here is, which brings to that as social sector professionals, I think we are very bad also, and I am also a culprit there. I am saying in the data collaboration or some kind of a data sharing policy. Right? If in one geography, whether it is a village or a block or a hamlet or a gram panchayat, if there are multiple agencies working, why aren't you sharing data? Why everyone is collecting data again and again of the same thing and all that? Right? Analysis, obviously, you should do, but data, that's a raw data. In 2 years, in 1 year, in 6 months, nothing is going to change. Right. Right. So, and on the flip side, we have seen that, again, from a field visit and an anecdotal example, I was in one village in Rajasthan, there was an Anganwadi Sahika, right? And again, as data obsessed, we are all mobile apps obsessed, right? Everyone wants to have a mobile app with their company logo, nahi, isme data collect karna, right? She had 4 apps doing the same thing, same ICDS. So there was one central government app, there was one state government app because the ruling party difference, right? State government was experimenting with a new app. So they said, kuch time ke liye dono apps mein data dalo, because we are doing the beta testing, A/B testing, so technology people will understand, right? Then there was a CSR who was helping the Anganwadi thing. But she was very happy. Why? Because she was incentivized by all 4. For her, it is a quick buck what she's making, and I don't blame her, obviously. So I think 2 things here. One is we should look from a top to bottom approach. First, try and see what you want to analyze from a data perspective. Then go and design the tool or the survey which we are going to collect data. Garbage in, garbage out happens. Otherwise, right, you have a lot of garbage in the data and no one is going to obviously take a look at it. And then you say, ye to bahut bulky hai. And some of your analysts would say, kahan se main start karoon, there's so much data, I'm unable to correlate and all of that. Go back, start, what do you want to analyze and do that. And second is, I don't know, some network, some forum has to come, maybe Bombay can take an initiative. Some CSR box can take an initiative that if there are some raw data collection and we standardize some format, at least if some raw data is available in the public domain, because it's all hard-earned philanthropic CSR taxpayers' money, right? Which is again going down the drain for collecting data. So some kind of, if data collaboration can happen, if you have standard data repositories. So we ourselves have now tried to scrape data from public forums. It's legally allowed because it's anyways public. So like Narega website has the best real-time data. It's not machine readable, and what I mean by machine readable is that I can't download everything at one go. So एक ब्लॉक पे क्लिक करो, then वो village जाएगा, when you click on that village. But if you do it smartly through code and crawlers and scrapers, it will give you that data. So those things exist, but I think these two things, if we as data sector professionals, sorry, social sector professionals, if we care about, I think it will help the entire sector in a long way.
Just trying to add two angle to it. One is on today, not India, at least GDPR kind of things is there outside, data protections. And we collect data, and again, we normally breach that ethical responsibilities at our end when collecting data from beneficiaries, you say, or project partner uses. A lot of data are being collected and being circulated through WhatsApp, through mail, and all those things. That also we all, as a fraternity, need to grow up on how to protect those data, one angle. Second, the basic methods of, basic ethics of quantitative techniques. When I was studying in XIMB those days, always told by our SRM professor that never collect data which you are not going to analyze or use. The basic fundamentals. Normally, what in India we tendency, ये भी ले आओ, वो भी ले आओ, वो भी ले आओ. चार सब्जी आएगी लेकिन बनेगी घर में चोखा. So if you are going for chokha, then only buy batata, aloo, and rest not. So that we normally do one way. That's what he's saying is probably your project design should be very clear, and you must know with KPI wise what exact data you need, and that need to be collected, not others. I have seen last year while assessing for CI and Institute of Company Secretaries in India, the CSR award, 4 projects I have seen. One corporate only spending lavishly on the Anganwadi center structure. I'm taking this example, monitoring malnutrition. Another place they are only giving digital solution like Anganwadi worker having app and all, same that government app and all, they're having the beta testing and all. They were also measuring malnutrition. There's an organization based out of Delhi. They are giving all educational support, pre-education support, very beautifully crafted and well articulated document, well appreciated by Anganwadi workers, supervisors and CDPOs. They are also monitoring by giving education tool, what they are monitoring? Malnutrition. And there was an organization who was giving laddu, ragi laddu in south and measuring malnutrition. Look at kind of 4 differences of interventions, and we are measuring malnutrition. We feel that building बन जाएगा तो malnutrition घट जाएगा. कोई सोच रहा है डिजिटल में दे दिया तो malnutrition घट जाएगा. And this is all happening, I'm saying, CSR funded, being implemented at NGOs. We both are complete, I'm saying. If somebody knows what is wrong, tell out. हम नहीं करते ऐसा project. Let's have the final design into it. Bring experts. In India, there are 1,000 experts on same whether you talk of nutrition, livelihood or anything else. You'll get a lot of experts. And they are not very costly to hire also.
Last thing which I want to add is data is not the indicator of the success of the project. That is what when I say data obsession is all about. Sometimes your data might show that the success of the project is not there, but that doesn't mean the project is failure. Because why I'm saying this, because the stakeholders, especially in corporate setup, they are scared that if the data is not showing the success, it is a failure project. But that as a CSR experts, we need to negotiate and we need to make them understand that data might show a different picture, but in reality, we are progressing towards that. And impact is something which can come after years. So that is what I meant by data obsession all about. I understand impact needs a balance of content called data. So I understand that, but that was my point of view.
I think, Mr. Rohit, we had one question from the audience that what are the criteria to select an impact assessment agency?
Do you want me to answer that? Because I might be biased since or would it be better if Pratyush...
Should I take this?
Yeah.
So recently we are in the process of doing impact assessment and I am in the process of identifying agency. So when I am identifying agency, see, we are in the infancy stage right now. So we are balancing out with the agency who can understand the challenges we have. Because all the CSRs are, because it has become mandatory, we might not be having the baseline, we might not be having having the need assessment. Many of them might not be having. But for identifying, we need to understand, first of all, that agency understand the program. I cannot have the same agency there might be same agency, but there might be people, experts on the panel who understand my program. So whenever I'm doing an interaction, I try to meet the team. When I talk to the team, now this recent trend has started where there is a fundraising team or resource mobilization team, and there is a program team or maybe research team. When I'm doing this conversation, and please understand, when I'm doing this conversation, not only for impact, but for partnership, I make sure who is talking more. If the resource mobilization person is talking more during that conversation, and the program person and the researcher is not talking more, I get the sense that how the impact is going to happen. So that's my second criteria. I'm talking very practically how we look at it, right? Third is the knowledge and the frequency, the travel, whether the data, how the data will be managed. Obviously, we cannot overlook that. Then third is the story. That is how we identify the organizations. Sometimes we are, as a CSR, today only I got to meet someone who is an independent consultant doing impact assessment. As a CSR, right now, we are not very open. I'm very frank about it. We are not very open for individuals coming and doing impact assessment, which is I would not say a good trend, but as a CSR, we have more I would say more, on big organizations or organizations who are established and who have that experience. So that is a constraint as a CSR right now we have. So when we identify the organization, that is the first criteria, whether they have that kind of experience of working in the same industry where I am a cement manufacturing company. So if they're a company who has worked in that domain, because then I know that they understand the market, they understand our beneficiaries. So that is the way we select the organization. Yes, and expertise is very important. So very practically how we do it. Sir might add to it that, yeah.
No, to answer that same question, first is Government of India is coming out with certified practitioners, those will be doing impact assessment. Soon it will come either through SEBI ESG or through directly under CSR. Till then it is wait and watch. But if you look at the entire history of the social sector development, say of USA, DFID, VMGF and all, how it has been done, this kind of assessment. It has normally 90% time it has gone to academic research organizations, especially to the department like those who do social research methodologies kind of process. So I have a tendency of positive biasness towards this. When anything comes to me, I prefer to go to a academic institution for two things. One is there is a school of thought within that where they have research scholars are there. So it benefits the research scholars. The student down the line, those who deployed, those will be tomorrow's either NGO leaders or the social leaders. Suppose I'll go to TIS, IRMA or those kind of. I'm also supporting a group of students, those who are fine-tuning their career. And also there is a possibility of getting sociologists into it, also anthropologists into it. And whereas there is a new set of people like different consultant, they also come with a seriously different stature of data analytics part. So if I go to academia, they will certainly do with master tabling and all. And if I go to a very good professional, organization, those who consulted, they can do the same thing maybe. The 2 months job can also be done in 2 days probably through ChatGPT. So this also be possible. So this now
like a brand name works, right?
Correct. Brand
because
name
you
also
have to put a report in the public domain.
Correct.
You can get the same or maybe better quality from an individual.
Sometimes you're pushed to take a brand name.
But
yeah.
you need to, some corporates need a brand name so that because the brand comes with some promise of quality.
Yes.
Irrespective of the individuals that have worked on it.
So it depends on everybody mindset. Today it is open, but more than who does it, how it has been done, how impact assessment is more important. I'll give you a small example. When I joined L&T, a project evaluated by a third party, a big brand, through SRY, score 1:1.2, the lowest among all the project. When I went more deeper, taking her example, anecdotes, I'll give you example. A boy called Bharat, this project of PWDs, was running for 4.5 years. A boy called Bharat, He got 2 times Quizable champions. Quizable is a program where we do PWD GK competitions, and that's a national champion. He got twice on 9th and 10th. He wanted to be a scientist. He applied at a Madras Science College. He was denied because he was 98% blind. All with Quizable certificate, he went to Madras High Court. We supported our NGO. With 7 hearing, Madras High Court directed the government college to give him the science with physics admission. Such a big deal, but the project score how much on SRY? 1.2, the lowest among all the projects. Now we have made that case study available to all High Court and Supreme Court, so any PWD suffering on higher education, here is a reference document. So INODUC says it is beautiful project, high impact, but SRY says 1:1.2.
We can take like 2 questions from the audience.
Hi everyone, thank you for the session. So I am Ranjit, I am coming from an Academy of Sustainability. So just to share my experience, I think Madam briefly pointed the point which I wanted to share, is that one of the ways which I learned from the last 10 years working in the Academy of Sustainability is that one of the ways the impact can be measured is to measure the change which happened to the implementing agency. So like we says that to make the change, be the change. So that is very true when you work on such social projects, because you have to first change to make that change happen in the field. So looking at how the way they behave initially and the way the project ends, you can definitely see whether they have made impact or not. So that is my experience. I just want to share. Thank you.
I would like to have my response. The entire panel discussion I was observing seems to be there is a trust deficit among the panelists when it comes to the implementation. I think that people who are working on the field like us, we need to be trusted, and the way that we do things are in a very difficult terrain. And as a funding people, you are our partners, and partnership blossoms when trust is built in. And I am a bit disappointed from the way that the NGOs were, described, like giving some data, some frameworks, which are just kind of cooked up things, which I don't think is correct. So we need to work with good understanding, and we do work which the government neglects, and many of the people also are indifferent. So you can help us in building a good framework and guide us rather than doubting us. Thank you.
Sure. So we definitely, when we talked about partnerships, it's more about working together. I think the sector is moving towards that. We can have one more question.
Hi, my name is Dhimant. I have been in the development sector on the non-profit side for about 10 years, and now I run an agency that helps non-profit raise money. I have a 2-part question, especially for the CSR leads, just to understand. So, for the last 6 years, impact still remains an enigma. Everybody is still talking about what is outcome, what is output, is there a difference? Every time somebody sits on that stage, they explain, we all go back. I don't know what's happening, but I want to understand from your point of view, why is it still such an enigma? And the second aspect of that question is, how open are CSR to actually accept a proposal that doesn't have impact? Just an outcome level proposal, a three-year proposal probably cannot create an impact. So are you guys open to actually accepting an outcome level proposal?
People, those who are old-timer in CSR and work with me during last 12 years, they know I used to run a project called Fund to Failure. People knows that, people have applied. These 10 crores were kept separate only for those kind of proposals, but with a guarantee, if it is a proposal is an innovative one. So we said, suppose I'll fund 10 crores in 10 projects, 9 will fail. If you want innovations, that specific area will be still ahead of the curve. We have funded it. It's working. A lot of corporates do. And this impact assessment today is only for project having a certain value and above. If it is smaller, still this can be happen.
I would add to this. You tell me one thing you do in life and you see there's no impact of it. Do you, any one of you, do anything without any impact? We don't. Even we eat food, we see an impact of it, right? So I cannot understand any project design which doesn't have an impact. Now coming to impact, failure or success, that is a different story, right? Like sir rightly said, there is a cap, 1 crore and above, which needs to be, which comes under mandatory impact assessment. If your project is below that, it's okay to take, because we also understand that innovative, especially projects in innovation, has major chances of failure, and they might have the cap above 1 crore also, right? So that is completely fine, but the problem is the design of the project. If the design is clear, if the intent is clear, if what we want to do, how we want to do, where we want to go is clear, and it aligns to the CSR mandate, I don't think so CSR will have that challenge, because we also understand that it's a partnership we are talking about. It's not a funding. I always keep telling this to all my NGO partners and to my team also, we are partners, we are not funders. Treat yourself as partners, because that is the journey we want to get into it. And when we are partners, we are both walking on the same, like we are married to each other. Or कहते हैं ना दो पहिए हैं. We are that story, right? We fight, we stay, but we have to stay together. So that is all about. So we are ready for it. We are open for it. But the intent should be clear. The strategy should be clear. How, what, where, that should be clear. The problem is when that doesn't happen. Yeah. I'll just add to that when, so just 1 minute. See, it's not because of CSR that people are understanding input, output. I come from development sector. I was in NGO sector for 10 years, and trust me, most of the people working there didn't understand. I was also confused. अरे आउटकम क्या होता, आउटपुट क्या होता, there is always this confusion. Until and unless this theory is clear to us, until and unless we understand it, the theory of change cannot be designed. So I think we all need to evolve, we need to work on ourselves. It's a learning process for us as a professional, and we have to invest into ourselves to learn that. It's not a rocket science, it's nothing which we cannot do, but we have to get into it. So that is how we can address that.
Sure. I think time's up for us. Thank you, audience, for asking interesting questions, and thank you, the panelists.